Hello everyone. This is the supplementary task on course design. So first and foremost, it was required to express our decisions of the approaches that we use for creating or designing an ESP course for architecture students. So first and foremost, we have to define a couple things. So first off, up to this point, we know that ESP courses are designed to meet students' specific language needs, okay? Because as the phrase implies, is English for specific purposes. So architecture students are required to know a little bit more in terms of vocabulary, grammar, and word construction and sentence construction, so that they can communicate, read, input and output of the language, okay? And to this end, I have chosen three main approaches that I would like to discuss very briefly in this video. The first one is the language centered. The second one is skill centered, and the last one is the learning centered. First things first, we have the language centered approach. Allow me to enlarge this a little bit. Okay, so here we go. So the language centered approach is the one that focuses on teaching vocabulary and grammar specific to the field of expertise, which is in this case is the architecture, for architecture students. And also this approach is useful for students who have a good foundation in English but need to improve their knowledge. Nonetheless, it is not required that students have like a prior knowledge on the language or on the topic in the field. However, it is advisable, okay? So I chose this one right here because we never know. We can design a course for A1 level students, B1 level students, A2s, B2s, C1s, C2s. That depends on the needs of the students and the levels they have. Obviously, prior to doing so, we need to go over a diagnosis so we can group students according to their level, okay? So if we have like 4 individuals and 3 of them are B1 levels, we need to group them all together. And if we have an A1, for example, we need to create a course specifically for that A1 or A2 student, okay? So because it's difficult in the teaching field to level up students up to that huge gap of knowledge, which is from A1 to B1 or something like that, okay? Next, we have the skill-centered approach, and this consists of teaching practical skills necessary for them to communicate effectively. So it could be reading, writing, speaking, listening. Obviously, the approach or the focus, the scope is going to be different for this type of course because they need specific things, such as input for listening to meetings, maybe with people from overseas, maybe reading for journal articles where they can get some more information, more details on whatever they're studying. In this case is architecture, but they have several branches. And then we have writings, because they may need to write either their own journal article or they need to write emails to their bosses or something that goes in line with the field, okay? And obviously this skilled centered approach will depend on the student's need again, or on the student's need, so that we can improve and delve into that specific skill. However, it is advisable that we as teachers teach skills in an integral way, so we can have listening, speaking, reading, and writing all together. Some of them will be passive skills and some of them will be active skills, and we can just work them out interchangeably, okay? And finally, we have the learning centered approach, which is that this one goes in line with the previous one, which is the skill centered approach, and it focuses on the learner's needs and interests rather than skills they need to fulfill the goals and to help them with motivation, obviously in their field of expertise, architecture in this case. And this is very suitable for students who need a course made according to their needs. So this is very, very, very focused. We can make it super broad, but we can just also narrow it down into something more specific, because these courses usually don't have a lot of students, at least for private institutions. If we work, for example, at university and we're teaching a subject in English and that subject is architecture, we may as well have a couple more students, namely 20, 25, 30 students. Nonetheless, the students taking this course is because they have a prior knowledge on the language. But what if students don't have any prior knowledge of the language? Well, firstly, we need to introduce using CLIO, which is learning content through English, but teaching some kind of English. So we can have as CLIO has different levels, we can get to the middle CLIO, which would be basically teaching some of the language and a lot of content of the topic or on the topic, in this case architecture, so that they can compensate for the lack of vocabulary, grammar they may have. Okay, so activities that we can do on the course, on this course, we can have vocabulary building, let's say reading journal articles and extracting some key vocabulary essential for them to learn, study, because they're going to be using that vocabulary on a daily basis. Or we can just, number two, technical writing practice, for example, writing an abstract or their proposal for their thesis or their article or ideas based obviously on prior knowledge that we have provided. Three, we can have group discussions, mainly speaking activities on how to build a bridge, what's the best way to build a bridge, and what materials to be used, and so forth. Presentations, let's say they're going to talk about architecture in general, so the most iconic pieces of architecture around the world. So they need to create a presentation and present that to their whole group. It could be group or individual activities. That's up to the point of the teacher and also the group development. And then we have a 5 simulator client meetings. This is a role play thing. It's also a active speaking production exercise, and we have a little bit of writing because they need to create their own dialogue first and then rehearse it with the class, and then we can have the feedback on what they did right and they did wrong, very generally, obviously, without pointing out someone very specifically. So these are the activities that I would use for my course, and these are the 3 approaches that I would use as well to develop and to carry out a short-term course, let's say 3 months course with an incidence of twice a week, 2 hours each day. So that's how I would work these type of ESP course in the field of architecture. Okay, so let me stop here for a second because we're almost done. And yeah, that's basically it. That's my decision as to why I chose these 3 approaches and activities that I would do to reinforce and to make knowledge solidify in students' mind. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.